Good morning, everyone. I am just looking around to see all of your wonderful faces who are here. It is a remarkable gift to be here together on this beautiful day. And it is beautiful, even as the cold rain falls outside, we gather here together to warm our hearts in community with each other and discover something beautiful about life today. I am Reverend Israel. I use he, him for pronouns, and I am the minister of this congregation. And it's my pleasure to welcome all of you here to this space of community and spirituality and discovery together. We are the Unitarian Universalist Church of Lancaster, or UUCL as we like to call ourselves. We're a progressive spiritual community. Our mission is come, nourish the spirit, connect in love, and act for justice. Ours, Unitarian Universalism, is an uncommon religion. In Unitarian Universalism, we believe that it is more important to love each other and to figure out how to make our world a more beautiful and more loving and more just place. We think that is more important than having all of the answers figured out to the mystery of life. So we welcome all of you here, those who are joining for the first time and those who have been here many, many times. We welcome you. No matter who you love, who you marry, how you know and express gender and your body, whether you believe in something greater than yourself, whether you believe in God or don't, whether you have been harmed by religion, or whether you find it gives you life, or somewhere in between. Whether you find spirituality moving, or whether you are kind of skeptical, but you are still here anyway, because there is something perhaps to be found here that you can't find out there by yourself. No matter what brings you here, I welcome you here to this space, and I'm glad you're here with us, where we come together and seek to find community and make sense of life. I welcome you, and I will light our chalice for us now, which is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. May this flame, the fire that I kindle, remind us to live life with passion, to set intentions in our lives that spark joy, help us to discover meaning, and also to experience reverence and wonder and awe for life. May this fire remind us of the light of truth and knowledge that is ever unfolding and ever shining in our lives. And may it also remind us of the fire of passion for life that must ever be burning all around us, even after our flames have gone out. So we are here, like I said, in the spirit of worship. That is what we call this time together. And like I have said many times before, but maybe you are hearing for the first time today, this means just that we are here to focus our attention on what matters in life, to help us bring attention to our lives with intention, and to help us set intention and to live lives of purpose and meaning, to help us live lives that don't just pull us along or drag us along through them, but to discover how we can make the practice of living a discovery that we are walking here and everywhere on holy ground. To make sacred space, to set apart sacred space, is just another way of saying that we enter into life or the space around us with intention, that we remove our shoes in reverence for this beauty and this mystery that is life. So when you enter into this virtual space with us today, I invite you to enter in like you were entering, let's say, a yoga studio or something like that. To remove your shoes, to walk slowly and intentionally and be present, to sit down, to draw attention to your breath, to become aware of your body, and to prepare yourself for something beautiful and transformative. So, my friends, let us together in this space this morning open our hearts to see that this gift of life abounds around us. Let us open our hearts and welcome it among us. And let us arise and greet this beautiful day, because it is a unique gift. And let us greet it with joy.
Morning has come, arise and greet the day. Dance with joy and sing a song of gladness. The light of hope here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. A new day dawns, once more the gift is given. Wonder fills this moment shared together. The light of peace here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. Open our eyes to see that life abounds. Open hearts to welcome it among us. The light of love here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home.
When we here together say that life is a beautiful gift, we mean all of it. The joys and the sorrows and all of the complexity that lies in between. And here in this space that we make sacred by our being together, you do not have to leave those parts of yourself that feel less joyful, those parts of yourself that are still in process, or those parts of yourself that you're not quite sure what to do with. That is the point of being together in spiritual community, to bring who we are authentically into the space, and to process it and to make meaning of it together, to find comfort where we need it, to celebrate when we have something to celebrate, and sometimes to just be held in silence, because sometimes that's all we need. So here, today, at this time, is your welcome to plunge yourself into the deep well of community, to bring the joys, sorrows, and complex truths that are weighing on your heart and that also give it wings and roots at the same time. So if you have a joy, a sorrow, or a complex truth on your heart that you must share, that you wish to share, that you need to name out loud in this space, now is your time to do so by typing it into the chat in 15 words or less. And we will drop a stone into our well for you so that you know that you are seen and heard and loved here. And for all of the joys, sorrows, complex truths, ones that remain in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts, of your hearts, ones that are still in process and ones that words simply cannot express. I drop this final stone into our well so that you know that you are held and loved and seen here. For all that we carry and all of who we are, and for life itself, we take a moment now to pause, to breathe, to be together in the spirit of meditation, the spirit that some know as prayer and what others know simply as being present to the joys and sorrows and complexities of life. I invite you to feel yourself in this body, with all of its aches and pains and strangeness. And beauty. Feel yourself as a person in a body on this earth today, because this thing is how we experience the world. Your body is your literal connection to life. And the breath that moves in and out of you is the thing that makes life continue. So as you breathe, as we breathe together, may you not just be still and breathing, but may you be present in the world. Not detached from it, but present to it. And may you breathe. And remember that you are alive, my friend, for at least one more day. And as you breathe, may you ask yourself some critical questions. What is most important to me? For I am going to die, and you are going to die, and all we have are these beautiful, complicated, mysterious, and full moments. We have just these moments. Don't forget that as you breathe.
Though I may speak with bravest fire and have the gift to all inspire, and have not love, my words are vain as sounding brass and hopeless gain. Though I may give all I possess and and striving so my love profess, but not be given by love within. The prophet soon turns strangely thin. Come, Spirit, come, our hearts control, our spirits long to be made whole. Let inward love guide every deed. By this we worship and are freed.
May inner love guide every deed we do on this earth in this life. But inner love for what, of course, is the question. This month, we are entering into our theme of living with intention, meaning that it is our goal, so to speak. It is our task to set upon the spiritual journey of living with intention, which hopefully many of us have been doing for a very long time. But together we make some space to think about it. And I want us, as we enter into this theme, to think about some sacred tensions of what it means to live with intention. And one of those, I think, or the tension itself, is the desire or the impulse to order the world, to shape it, to control our lives, to build up for ourselves a life, to build up for ourselves success, to build up for ourselves things that we think will make us happy, or that perhaps do. While also acknowledging the fact that there is so much beauty to appreciate and discover in this world as it is. That building up for ourselves is not necessarily the solution or the answer to our problems. That building up, that cultivating is not necessarily always the way to make the world better or to make ourselves happy. That we don't always have to do everything exactly the way that it is prescribed for us by society, by patriarchy, by the rules that we've set forth for ourselves. There is a sacred tension between those things. And it is not one or the other. That is not my task today, to present them as one or the other to you, but to ask you to think about the sacred tension between those things. And so I'm going to start us off with a little bit of a wisdom tale, or a parable, if you will, that has occurred in that pops up in many different places around the world. But it always goes something like this. There was long ago a very important bishop in the Christian church, in the Christian tradition, who went as a missionary to a faraway place to colonize and to impose his beliefs on peoples somewhere far away in the world from where he came from. And he brought with him his religion that he thought was the right way to do things. And he also brought with him a prayer that he in his heart believed was a true prayer and the true right way to pray to his idea of what God was. That prayer was called the Lord, he called it the Lord's Prayer. And as he went where he went, he spread this prayer and he taught it to people and told them that that was the way that they were to pray. And he left. And then several years later, he came back. And when he returned to one of the places he had returned to, he was greeted by three fishermen. Three fishermen who told him that they were inspired by his prayer and by his words, and that it inspired them to lead meaningful and loving lives, and that it inspired them to care deeply about what it is that they're doing with this life. But they couldn't quite remember the words of the prayer. In fact, the bishop asked them to recite the prayer, and what they recited was something like this: "We are humbled by creation, so let us live with love and compassion." And they said that that is how they were living their lives, and that is what they learned from the bishop's prayer. And the bishop got upset and he said, no, you don't understand it at all. That's not how you're supposed to do it. And so he taught them the exact words that they were supposed to say for this prayer. And he left, feeling pretty good about himself. And then some more years later, he came back. And he was returning to this place in a boat that was sailing over a small sea. And on the horizon of the sea, he saw this bright light begin to appear on the water. And three figures that appeared to be walking on water began to walk towards him. And lo and behold, wouldn't you believe that it was those three fishermen from some years before. And they came up to the bishop and they said, "We thank you so much for this prayer you gave us that taught us that we are humbled by creation and that we must live with love and compassion. But we can't quite remember the words to your lovely prayer. Would you tell it to us again?" And the bishop sat there in his boat, humbled by the gift of life that these three fishermen brought to him, and also by the fact that they were walking on water, which told him that they must have been onto something that maybe he was missing the point of. And so he sat there humbled and he said, "You know what? You do you. I think you got it. You don't need me. So go live your life and live it with this intention, this beauty that you have revealed to me." And the bishop went back home. My friends, there are many messages in this world, in this life, that there are right ways to do things and wrong ways to do things. And I think in Unitarian Universalism, we recognize that there is not necessarily a right way to do things. There's certainly not necessarily just one right way to live life, to explore spirituality, to understand truth and wisdom, to understand what it means to live a good life. Each of our paths may look different, but what matters deeply is the deep quality of intention, the love and the quality of our hearts that we bring to what we do, but some might call integrity. The integrity, the authenticity that we bring to life. A core message that I want you to hear from what I'm telling you today, or something that I want you to think about or to come out of today with, is to take every moment in life to ask yourself, what is my deepest intention for this life? What is it that I most deeply long for? What is it that I most deeply care about? What's my purpose? If you were to wake up every morning and ask yourself those questions, to begin each day with those things on your mind, I suspect that it might have an interesting effect on you. I'd like to think that I try to do that most days, and that it does inform my actions in a meaningful way. Because we know that life distracts us and fills our days up with tasks and to-do lists and work things that can distract us from engaging with what our true purpose is. And so we really need to intentionally cultivate that in our living if we are to live with integrity and authenticity and intention. I think that is one of the core tasks of the spiritual life. To discover the beauty that is here in our midst in this world, rather than to think about or to plan the beauty that we would superimpose over something that is already pretty beautiful as it is. And this is a pretty common way to orient ourselves to the world this time of year. Many of us are set on intentions of resolving to create or to build up or to change something about ourselves. We're filled with many messages about, creating a better you, a better self, a better body, a better this and that. And that is often what we are focused on this time of year and what many of us are focused on. And perhaps some of it is absolutely necessary in our lives. But I want to just bring in a little bit more wisdom for seeing the world as it is for a moment by asking you to think about to think of life as being in a garden, or rather to think of ourselves as being gardeners. And any gardener who seeks to control the land that they are gardening or the plot that they are gardening knows what a weed is, or could perhaps tell you what a weed is. Sort of something that gets in the way, something that takes nutrients away from something else. But there's another set of wisdom that says that a weed is just a plant that we haven't found a use for yet. A weed is just a plant that we haven't realized or discovered what it is there for and what it is meant to do and how it could help us. So perhaps sometimes it is helpful to think about life as gardeners in the garden and to look around and to not see weeds, but to see plants that we just haven't discovered yet what their use is. Reminding us that things don't always go the way that we planned, but that we can find meaning and purpose in them nonetheless. Now, maybe it's not always possible to make the best of the weeds that we are given or that we find in life. Maybe it's not always possible to find beauty and joy and meaning in every moment of life. Sometimes a weed is just a nuisance. Sometimes we reach a point in life where we think to ourselves, I'm never going to grow the crop that I expected to grow. I'm never going to achieve and grow everything that I thought that I would. I'm not where I expected to be in life by now, at this moment. Perhaps some of you feel that way sometimes. Perhaps you feel like you have lost so much time in life of being able to achieve and be what you want to be, of live a life of meaning and purpose that you wanted, that you're trying to make up desperately for lost time, but at this moment in your life, it may feel like there's less time than ever. That you're faced with a series of endless life-sucking responsibilities, like weeds strangling at your roots, preventing you from growing and flowering and fruiting. Maybe you had a grand vision for your garden plot. Or maybe you feel like you're at a restaurant and you were just sent a plate of food that you didn't order. And you tell the chef, please send it back. This is not the life that I ordered. Or maybe you did get exactly what you wanted. Things did go exactly the way that you wanted them to. And now you sit here looking at what is in front of you and you say, is this all there is? Is that all there is to life? there are some ways that we can address these things. And that's part of the hope or the vision or the process that I want us to take up today. And it lies, I think, partially in living in the sacred tension between finding pleasure and beauty and joy and meaning in the way things are, while also finding the courage within ourselves to change what must be changed in the world. Whether that is issues of social justice or racial justice or economic justice in our world, or whether that is improving something about yourself that you feel like would help you to engage more fully with the world. Ways you want to change yourself or the world so that the world can be more loving and more just, and so that you can be more loving and more engaged with the world. So here's a couple of my thoughts here for you today. One is that I would say if you think that this is something you do, to stop chasing the idea of happiness and rather to pursue meaning and purpose by living with intention and by seeing yourself. And I think I've said this many times before, but by seeing yourself as connected to something greater than yourself. Knowing that you are a gardener on this earth and that the garden is not just yours. That the garden is supported literally by the soil that is things that have come before and returned to the soil and became the soil. Not to think that we know exactly which plants need to be planted right here today, but to know that we have to plant them in symbiosis with lots of different gardeners and lots of different plants and animals and organisms. There's plenty of research actually that shows that seeing yourself as connected to something greater actually leads and helps you to lead your best life. And then there's also anecdotal wisdom, like so actually Muhammad Ali said that service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth. And Jackie Robinson said a life is not important except in the impact it has on others. And what I mean by that is purpose and meaning are connected to our sense of community. Because happiness isn't just about you or me, because that would mean that staying happy is all on you or all on me by myself, that your happiness, that your meaning, that your purpose is just on you. And we live in a very individualistic culture, so we are given a lot of messages out there that our happiness is all on us, that we have the power to think positively, that we just need to take care of ourselves, that we need to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and all that kind of stuff. But if all of the work is on you, it can be a lot of work to do on your own. Finding meaning and purpose in this life is not something that one person can accomplish on their own. And when you're going through life this way, it's actually puts stress on your body to feel like you are responsible all by yourself for the world being better and for yourself being happy. Your body knows this. This is why our meditation, I asked you to think about being in your body, because your body will tell you that, and you will be stressed out, my friends. But when you see yourself as connected to something greater, as part of a larger community, your body knows that others are looking out for you, that the world is there for you. And you don't feel like you have to be vigilant all the time. When you have a sense of connection to something greater than yourself, and perhaps that is even a sense of, in a spiritual sense, not in a literal sense, a connection to immortality, to being part of a larger unfolding story that you don't have to tie up in a neat bow in the time that you have to write it, to engage with it. That's my first thought. My second thought is to find true meaning and purpose and engage with life, stop trying to be happy. And what I mean by that is that if you spend all your life trying to be happy, I find in my life, the more that I actually pointedly try to be happy, the less happy I usually end up being. Because I just think about all of the things that I don't have or that I want. There's actually a lot of research too that shows that trying to be happy actually makes you unhappy. And I don't mean to give up, but I do partially mean to find meaning and purpose and beauty and pleasure in the way that things are. Because the more that you set goals or resolutions, it's sort of like being on the treadmill of life. Once you accomplish one goal, another one appears, and you set another one and another one and another one. And then you realize you spend your whole life in the service of trying to achieve the unachievable. It's like the myth of Sisyphus in Greek mythology, where he rolls the rock up to the top of the hill and then it rolls back down and he has to keep rolling it back up. So perhaps our task in life is to discover the beauty of the rock where it sits, or maybe to develop the courage to break it open together with other people when it needs to be. Let me put it in the garden metaphor one more time. You can garden because you want to grow lush, juicy, ripe tomatoes. Or you can garden because you want a pretty garden, or because you simply want there to be a garden for life to experience, for things to appreciate it. You can garden just because you like the process of gardening, and you don't care if things grow or if they don't. You just like getting your hands in the dirt. Now, if you garden because you love the process of gardening, no matter what the product, you actually might find that you still end up with some nice, ripe, fresh, juicy tomatoes and beautiful flowers. Your plants also might get blight or bugs, or there might be a drought and they might not grow so well. But you still nonetheless would have spent some quality time with your hands doing something that you love and that gives you life and that brings life to the world, communing with nature, being in the world and making it more beautiful. To round us out, I come back to where I started, I think, which is to live life with intention. Intention, not as in setting goals, not as in thinking towards the future or thinking towards an exact outcome. Living with intention is different than making goals. It's simply about being present with attention to the ever-changing flow and beauty of life, and to approach life with an attitude that what you do matters, and that bringing your whole self matters. That if you are sitting in the garden with your hands in the dirt, that paying attention to that dirt matters. And that, yes, you can seek to grow and to plant things that are important to you. But know that sometimes they will grow and sometimes they won't. But being grounded, literally and figuratively, in intention is what provides integrity and unity to your life. I leave you with these closing words. And this is by an American Buddhist practitioner, teacher named Adashanti. And he says, all we really want in the end is to be connected. So all we really want in life, all we really want in the end is to be connected once again with the truth of our being. To realize what it is that wears this mask of self. Live your life in a way that seeks to connect you once again with the truth of our being. of what it means to be alive today, of what it means to seek beauty, to sow love, to live with intention. Go out and seek to do that, and stumble and fall and fail and try again with the true simplicity of life itself.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
We now take an offering as an outward expression of our interdependence, the sense of community that Reverend Israel was speaking about today. You can support our work by texting the amount of your donation to the number on your screen, or by visiting our website, UUCLonline.org. This month, we share half of the offering with Crispus Attucks Community Center, a nonprofit that supports the preservation of African-American cultural heritage and empowers youth and families to reach their full potential. Please give generously in the season of giving. Thank you.
Our service has ended, my friends.